Welcome to our JTalks podcast, where leading advisors find the fuel to drive their business alpha. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, InsurMark is an advisor development organization. This is the next step in our 35-year history of aligning the independent financial advisor with best-of-breed resources and services from a dedicated professional team, product partners, technology vendors, practice management leaders, and business development systems. Today, Jack Martin, our strategic marketing consultant and founder of the Elite Advisor Group, will be talking with Coach Joe Lukacs about how advisors can finish 2018 with a bang and set the table for a bigger 2019. Coach Joe is the founder and CEO of the Magellan Network. For the last 25 years, he's helped the industry's leading advisors realize more success business. And now, let's join Jack and Coach Joe.
Thanks for joining us today. This has been a pretty interesting year for advisors, but with all the volatility, regulatory, and technology changes that we've seen, it certainly made it challenging for a lot of advisors to find more client time, more family time, and to achieve that work-life balance. And so today, we're talking with performance coach extraordinaire Joe Lukacs about how to finish 2018 with a bang. So I'm curious, how did the moniker Coach Joe get started?
You know, it just came about, quite frankly, Jack. After 25 years, it was just simple to say Coach Joe versus Coach Joe Lukacs with the funky spelling that I have. So instead of having everybody butcher my last name, we just kind of eliminated it a little bit, and we like to keep things simple here.
Gotcha. So in spite of all these, this volatility and all these changes, many advisors are having a great, let's say, even record year. And so, Joe, how are you and your advisor clients approaching year end?
Jack, that's a great question. And I think it depends on kind of where we're at. So for your comment, I think advisors are in one of three conditions. They're having a record blowout excellent year. They're having an okay year, and they're not having a good year. So think about the three different types, right? And so what I've always found very fascinating, when somebody has, well, let's just say a record year, if you talk to them, one of the biggest fears is, how do I do it again next year? Or how do I surpass it, right? So in essence, it becomes a bit of a stressor. The second scenario, when you're having an okay year, could have been better. So you get a passing grade, you're not going to get an A. Question then becomes, what do I need to do better? What do I need to do different, right? And then the third scenario is it just didn't work out for whatever reason. Maybe there were some personal challenges that distracted you, whatever it is. So we were kind of in survival mode, right, the entire year. And that's what you have to look at and say, okay, what has to be different? What different dynamics do I need to bring in? So I think a little bit it depends on where you're coming from as you exit out of 2018. And then, kind of pivoting towards 2019. So I think in all scenarios, like the ones the advisors having an excellent year, you've got to keep your foot on the gas. And here's why. The reason why you're having an excellent year is because you're executing things, you're behaving a certain way, you're focused on certain things. And sometimes there's a tendency to start sandbagging a little bit going into November, December, and that normally allows our habits and the structure that we put in place that got us our excellence to wither. So we want to kind of keep things going as long as we can, keep moving forward. If you're in that kind of middle box where it's been okay, you want to start whatever changes that you think you need to make. You don't want to wait till January 1st and say, okay, new year, let's go ahead and let's make these massive changes come January 1st, because the reality is that your 2019 needs to start now. So it's a dual mandate. Finish 2018. But look at where you have your gaps. And then what you want to do there is start working on them now, November, December, so everything is grooved come January 1st. And then if you're in the third scenario, I think it's really a time to be reflective and say, okay, is the reason why I had a poor 2018 internal, external, or a blend? And what I mean by that is external. Maybe there's something, maybe a family member or relative was sick or something. There was a distraction, some adversity, if you will, that was external. Or was it totally self-sabotage? You just kind of didn't get out of the blocks really well, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And so you kind of defaulted back in survival mode, And for some advisors, Jack, this is their entire career is like 20, 25 years of startup. Every year it's a new year. Every year it's going to be different. And it really doesn't do that. It really doesn't become that. So I think it really depends on where you're at. But in any of these three scenarios, the one common theme is going to be this. 2019 starts today. The prep for it, the habit building, the formation of the systems need to start now so you enter the new year the way that you need to.
So with your advisor clients, do you typically have a checklist of things that you want them focused on at year end? Is there a set of tasks or strategies that you're keeping in front of your folks?
Yeah, there is, Jack. Actually, I call it the year-end punch list. So some of the elements on that would be, hey, where are we with our CE credits? Are we good to go on that? Are we going to get any surprises come January? So we want to have a good look at that, right? On the client side, obviously RMDs, tax loss harvesting, if that's appropriate. We want to make sure that's happening. From a team perspective, we want to schedule a team offsite towards the latter part of the fourth quarter, maybe kind of as we wrap up December, to bring the whole team together, do like an offsite, go over the year, make sure everybody's on the same page, what needs to be better, different, enhanced for 2019. So we want to be doing that. In addition, what are we doing for the clients for the holidays? If anything, are we doing Thanksgiving cards, holiday cards, open house, gifts? That needs to be decided if it has not already been decided. And then, quite frankly, what I love is planning for a 2019 event, and an early January Welcome to 2019 event. We started testing these about 4 years ago with clients, a huge success. So I really like the idea of all my clients in the second week of January hosting some type of educational type event. Kind of gets us off to a great start in the year. So those are some of the deliverables in that punch list, and then probably the most important thing is how you're going to handle business planning. So, again, if you had a great year this year, well, what's the plan to be even better next year? If you had an okay year, what's the plan to have a breakthrough to the next level? If it was not a good year, what's the plan to be different? Because you have to change things. So those are some things we look at. I start talking to my clients about this actually early October. So that way we're all on the same page and we leave nothing to chance.
We've learned in the last few years how important the psychology is to business success. And so mindset has a big role to play in how we position ourselves and how we execute and how we ultimately succeed or not. So with your folks, what are the things that you're talking to them about with respect to mindset?
Jack, great question. So the first thing we have to tackle is, how do you even define mindset, right? Because that's a big word. It can mean so many different things to so many different people. So the first thing, and this is relatively new work that I've done over the last 18 months or so, is I've taken mindset and actually broken it down to components. And what I do with my clients, we work on each component. And these are in no particular order. I call it the 4+1. So first thing we're going to look at is what is the advisor's beliefs? Beliefs around success, beliefs around failure, beliefs about what they think they deserve, right? And those are just some of the examples. Because if you're an advisor or any human being, and your whole belief set is, I just want to make enough money to survive, well, that will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you have a belief that it's hard to get new clients, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or I'm not good at workshops, or I'm not good at this, right? You have this kind of you have this belief set going on. So we want to examine what that looks like. The second thing we're going to look at is what's important to you. Your values. So, for example, if I'm an advisor, and look, a lot of advisors in our space, if you ask them what's important to them, they're going to talk about things like success and freedom, right, and all those things. And so, think of it this way: if I'm very freedom oriented, and every time I take on a new client, I feel like I have less freedom because I don't have the right business model, the advisor will self-sabotage bringing on new clients because, yes, they want the economics. But on the other side, it's like, well, every new household now is another set of reviews, touch base calls, things like that, and we get busier and busier. So we need to diagnose those. So those are two things. Then the third one is our internal dialogue, our self-talk. So what's our habitual conversations with ourselves, right? When we get up first thing in the morning, when we're getting ready to sit with a prospect, when we're getting ready to sit with a review, or how about when a client's on the phone? Hey, client needs to talk to you. Do you fear or you look forward to the conversation, right? Internal dialogue. And then the fourth one is the man or woman in the mirror. What do you see in the mirror? Do you see a successful person? Do you see a person who deserves it? Or do you see an imposter? Like, boy, I'm just lucky, right? If you walk around thinking you're lucky, then you're giving yourself no credit for your success. So those are the four. And then the plus one is, how do you define failure to yourself? Because you cannot be failure adverse in this industry and be highly successful. This industry is built on failure. And if you have a disempowering definition, i.e., well, I fail when I don't achieve my goals, I fail when I don't get my result, then you are going to be adverse to going for it. Because if you think failure is a bad thing, subconsciously you'll try to avoid it, by sabotaging yourself. So that's mindset, Jack, the 4+1. So what we do is we actually map the current mindset of the advisor, and then we take them through a process. And this, by the way, this is part of business planning. And then what we do is we have them consciously remap it in a way that's going to serve them. Because how do we get the old one? We didn't sit there when we were, 15 or 7 or 8 years old or 25 and say, gee, I wonder what I believe. I wonder how I do define success or failure. I wonder what my values are, right? Nobody's that conscious typically. So that's the first part of our business planning process is, hey, success is 80% mindset, 20% mechanics. This industry focused a lot on mechanics, and what holds advisors back is the mindset.
So many high performing athletes and executives have a psychologist coach working with them. Do you find that in the advisor community that folks are embracing that concept as well?
I believe the advisors who are forward thinking and understand that, and they have the belief around that's important, then yes. But here's the real challenge of our industry. There's a lot of ego and there's a lot of arrogance, right? So ego, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I don't need any help. I'm just fine. But meanwhile, hey, you've been flatlined for 10 years in your business, right? So maybe something's not right, right? And then we get the arrogance in a way, like I don't need any help or anything like that. So it's really boils down to the advisor understanding, i.e., the human being, that at the end of the day, they are the core product. They are the initial product. If somebody is going to hire you as their advisor and do business with you, it's because they like you, they trust you, they have confidence you're going to do a good job for them, right? And so that's where the work is, right? So I don't care what seminar process you have and what your website looks like and your office space. If you get up in the morning in scarcity and fear and feeling like you're a fraud and feeling like you're just lucky, you're going to do okay in this business because that's the dynamic of our industry. But you will never achieve the greatness that you believe you deserve because you're not willing to have help, to have assistance, right? To have that third party, tweak you in a way that unlocks all your potential.
Great advice. Great advice. One of the things we've learned in the last few years is how important planning is. 70% of elite advisors have a formal business and marketing plan, and we've learned that advisors who with a plan actually pull in 47% more revenue each year. So, what tips can you share with us about planning in this fourth quarter and goal setting for next year?
Great, all great questions, and I love the data. So number one is, if you're serious about your business and you're serious about success, you need a formal business planning process, marketing planning process. And I don't mean on January 1st or December 31st, you break out the old spreadsheet, plug some numbers in there, whether it's assets or premium or something like that, and you come up with like a very, very, simple one pager that took you an hour to put together. That is not a well thought out process. So I think the first thing is, commit to having a plan and then commit to really reviewing the plan. My belief and the way I set up my planning process is it's a living document. The hardest, and I tell everybody this every year, the hardest thing to do is to do the first one. Once the first one's done, it's really about edits and tweaks, not an entire rewrite. So many advisors just kind of repeat the same thing over and over and over again, and they don't bring any new dynamic in.
So, is there a specific format that you suggest? Is there a process that you coach with your clients?
Right. So great question. So here's my process, and it's going to sound pretty laborious for some people, and I appreciate that, but it's highly effective. So before we do the plan, we got to look back and say, okay, where are we today? So what we do is we walk them through a three-part benchmarking process. We want a narrative on the year. We want some KPIs, which are key performance indicators, kind of taking the pulse on the health of the business, the success of the business. And then we have 18 benchmarks that I have found to be extremely important in advisor success. So before we kind of move forward, right, we need to take inventory on where we are today for two reasons. Number one, we want to see where our gaps are from systems and behaviors and how we approach things because we want to improve them. But secondly, and Jack, you know this as well as I do, the common theme a lot of times with people is, hey, we do something, it works, and we stop doing it. So the other side of this is we want to memorialize those things that we do well, so we put them into the plan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a benchmarking process, and then I take them through a nine-step planning process. We do two segments on mindset. So like I said earlier, we're going to benchmark kind of where you are today between the years, and then the real simple way to explain this is, if you wanted to double, triple, quadruple, 10x your business, what kind of human being do you need to be to pull that off? Because at the end of the day, it's the person first, the business second. You got to evolve as a human being, and then your business will grow. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to take them through a goal setting workshop. Then what we're going to do, we're going to have them create their ideal lifestyle business. We're going to have them really create to get integration. Not balance. I think work-life balance is dead. I think it's all about how to integrate the two. So we do planning that way. We integrate. Once we're done with that, then what we're going to do is we're going to do a 5-year strategic plan on where you need to be personally and professionally in the next 5 years, which I guess is 2023 or 2024. After that, what do we want to do in 2019? So 5 to 7 business personal goals, and then not just the goal, but why? And then what is the map or the massive action plan to pull that off? Once we're done with that, we jump into the marketing business development segment where we're going to talk about your brand, your website, your referral process, your optimization process, your seminar process, your communication process. We're going to lay all that out. After that's done, now we're going to break all this down into a 2-page 90-day plan. So after you do our big strategic plan, now you're going to work throughout the years with 4 2-page mini plans, which then devolve into a daily game plan, morning ritual, and things like that. So it's really from, hey, 5 years from now, all the way to what do we need to do today to make that all happen. In my experiences, and I've been doing planning now for 20 years with my clients, that has been the proper way to do planning.
And so that doesn't sound like the kind of process you'd want, as a do-it-yourself sort of project, right?
I mean, good, better, best, right? So best would be, you come join me once a year when I hold my annual planning conference, which I have had done now since 2001. It can be do it yourself. The question is, what's going to work, right? And there's 2 philosophies that I've seen success. Number one is, you grab a couple of days, you chunk it out, and you go somewhere, whether a hotel or someplace outside your office so you're not distracted, and you just knock it out. And I've created all the video instruction to go do that. The second way is you do it incrementally. You say, hey, look, every day I'm going to take a couple hours in the morning, and I'm going to knock a module out, and I'll knock all 9 modules out in 2 weeks, right? It's funny, when I put this all online years ago, the first version of this, I held a planning event in Orlando, as I typically do, and I made the comment, hey, this is the last one we're ever going to have to do because it's all online now. Nobody has to get on an airplane. Nobody has to travel. And what the fascinating thing about that, Jack, I had a near mutiny because advisors told me that if they didn't have a place to go to force them to do the plan, it probably wouldn't get done. So even after 10 years of having this thing online now, I still every year invite people to come. We try to go nice places like on the beach in Fort Lauderdale this year, and we spend really 3 days. It's a 3-day process to knock this out.
Can folks still do the digital? Can they still do the live coaching with you, or is it too
The,
late for that?
the live event sold out. We tend to sold out. We can't have thousands. For it to work properly, I have to cap it so that it's effective, right? I want people to feel good around that. So that is sold out. But we are going to be rolling out the latest version live over the next several weeks, and I would love every advisor in North America to have access to it, quite frankly.
How prepared are you? Coach Joe is doing a great job of teaching us the important steps we should take this year and next. And we'll get right back to the podcast in just a second. But how prepared are you to integrate his insights into building a more successful and sustainable business? At InsurMark, we have a proprietary value engineering process that helps growth-minded advisors get more out of their life's work. Advisors engaged with us in this process are realizing more client time, more family time, and more value from their business. That's what we call driving business alpha. What is business alpha? Why is it essential for each advisor? How does value engineering work? We have a new e-brochure called Driving Business Alpha. We've made it super easy to get your copy. Simply click on the Download Business Alpha tile next to the podcast play button and tell us where to send it. Okay, now let's get back to Coach Joe.
So this time of year, a lot of advisors are in full go mode. They have pretty full schedules in terms of seminars and workshops and client reviews and all that kind of stuff. So what can they do to get more out of all of that activity this year and next?
Well, Jack, it's interesting. One of the things I find a lot of times, especially with advisors that are primarily driven by doing seminars and public events and things like that, is there's sometimes this mentality of, well, if they don't say yes to me immediately or they don't book an appointment, hey, we're just going to throw them in, we're going to throw that lead or that, that prospect in the trash, keep and move forward. And I think that's a huge mistake. You want to have a very well thought out drip process, follow up process. I think we have to remember as an industry, if we have a nice couple coming and they have $500,000 to their name and they can't make a mistake. I mean, if you just think about that from a rational standpoint, well, I'm going to see this person, I'm going to have a couple meetings, and then I'm going to hand you over all my money. Now, it does happen, but for every person that gets that kind of yes in that process, there's probably another opportunity they missed because the person needs to think about it, they're fearful, the timing's not right, whatever it is. And what I have found is if you can put a robust follow-up plan together on the back end of that, where we're inviting them to the client education events, the hybrid events, things like that. We're pinging them maybe once a quarter, checking in with them, seeing what's going on. That you can literally double the yield out of a seminar cycle by having effective follow-up. And I think a lot of advisors just don't think in that terms. They're just on to the next workshop, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my goodness, how much money we're leaving on the table, how much success we're leaving on the table by not having that follow-up. So that's one I think is really important. And then the second one is really that they're so busy working in the business, they're not working enough on their business, which I know almost sounds counterintuitive. But what I have found is the more time an advisor can spend thinking about mindset, thinking about systems, thinking about process, thinking about their business, the faster they actually grow their business because they're looking down the road and seeing what's coming and allocating time for that.
For the advisors who are pretty busy right now and maybe can't take the time to integrate and implement a drip system, should they be doing on the fly? Is there anything they can do to get more out of this year and get ready for next?
Yeah, I mean, the simple thing to do, especially with all the market volatility, is I'd be reaching out to all my prospects, all the people that came to a workshop or that are in my tribe, right? So tribe being those people who are not clients yet, but they're kind of on our newsletter list or mailing list, whatever it is. And I'd want to reach out to them and extend an offer to a 20 to 30-minute phone call, just with the advisor to check in, maybe just have a conversation, especially if they haven't heard from their current advisor and they're hearing from us. We like that. We like to create that, that gap, if you will. I think that's really important to do. So I think that's something we want to take a good look at doing. And then secondly, quite frankly, um, and this is more of a strategic thing. Figure out when the year's over for you. And I mean, like one of the things I ask my clients to do is, hey, when does 2018 wrap up? And I don't want to hear like December 31st. Is it going to be December 14th? December 15th? When do we call it a year? Because then I want two things to happen. I want downtime / renewal time, and I want strategic time to work on a plan, right? I don't, and the other thing, which is sort of more into 2019, a lot of advisors have this concept, oh my gosh, it's January 1st, we got to get after it. And they really thought that the holidays would be restful and there'd be downtime and stuff like that. And in most cases, with family commitments and parties and events and just the holidays in general, I think a lot of the times advisors come into the new year a little burnt out because they never really had an off season. So what we've been doing the last couple of years, we've been delaying the start of the new year to literally that second week of January, and we take that entire first week to wrap up our planning, to rest, recover, get our mind right, and then get ready to roll like January 7th, January 8th, January 9th, whenever that next week is. I found that to be preferable and superior to just rolling out of one year and then rolling right into the next year.
So over your 20 years of experience, I'm sure you've heard a lot of horror stories from advisors about mistakes they make this time of year, in wrapping up and getting ready for next year. So can you share some of those things not to do, in the next couple of months, and to get your 2019 rolling?
I think the first thing is, look, we all know the holidays are coming, but it doesn't mean that everything stops. I hear it all the time. Well, you can't get people to do anything come mid-November, or you can't do a workshop, and once November comes, you can't do workshops or whatever. And I found that to be inaccurate. In fact, I go the other way. I love when my clients do workshops in early December. Why? Because all their competitors stopped doing them because they bought into kind of the conventional thinking around things. So I think the first thing is push until hypothetically December 14th, which I think is a Friday. You push until that day, and you run your model, you make your touch base calls, you look to schedule clients, things like that. If it's important for somebody to do something, don't make time to do it, right? Don't make decisions for people. I think a lot of advisors, like I said, go into this holiday concept, and so in essence, you're making decisions for your clients on prospects on whether you think it's important to them or not, and don't do that. I mean, I'm not asking anybody to sit here and run a marathon, and work hard. I'm asking you to send an email, leave a voicemail. I mean, we're not talking a lot here. You can do it from your heated or air-conditioned office. You're not going to sweat. It's pretty easy if you're focused on it. So I want them out there pushing till the very, very end. Because what's the worst case scenario? Somebody's going to say, yeah, I know we need to get together, but the holidays are here. Can we do it in early January? If that's the worst case scenario, all you're going to do is fill up your January with meaningful meetings. And that is very important because one of the things, Jack, I've always found, advisors will do planning and they'll get all excited for the new year, and then they'll set these really crazy goals for the first quarter, especially like in January, right? And so they get all excited for the new year. They're going to write all this business and all this jazz, and they forgot one thing. They have no momentum. They suck that pipeline dry to make up the year. And so what happens in January? Not much. February 15th, we got a little business in. And the psychology for most human beings is that they set goals, and if they don't feel like they're on track for them come mid to late February, most human beings will abandon the process. And so we want to guard against that. So to me, your first quarter 2019 momentum really does get created in November and December, right? You don't create something in January to happen. My belief has always been that it's 90 days from the start of a process to money in your bank account. 90 days, right? Prospect meeting, couple meetings, we have to do analysis, put a proposal together, get the business written, get the business placed, get it paid. I always think in terms of 90 days. So if you don't want to give away the first quarter of 2019, you guys are setting the stage for that now in the latter part of the fourth quarter of 2018.
Joe, you're one of the most experienced coaches in our business. What's changing in the coaching world that advisors should know about?
Wow, that's a question I don't think anybody ever asked me before. I think there's a differential in the type of work I do and, a lot of the other big firms, and I'm not a big firm by any stretch of the imagination. I think a lot of coaches coach around practice management. They want to coach around systems. I know for a fact that I'm the only coach that has anything that resembles a well thought out business planning process. And the reason why I know that is because I see all the other coaches' work from my clients as it comes in. I think to me, coaching is about, there's two ways you can view a coach: processes and personality. So if you say, well, I just need I've got my head on straight, I'm really cool, I need this, I need a process. Well, there are plenty of coaches that will do the practice management gig, and that's fine. But I've always found that to be the smallest percentage of people that need the help. If you have all the processes and you have the systems and you have the seminars, you have everything, like, why am I not more successful? You do not have a system process challenge. You have a mindset challenge, right? You have a vision issue. What's the vision? So my process, I'm all personality driven. You drink my Kool-Aid or you don't, and I'm cool with that. And look, I am not for everybody. I think what you need to do is whatever coach you're going to use, and look, every advisor needs a coach. I'm not saying it should be me. Find somebody that you resonate with, that you say, look, I like that person's approach, I like their style, I kind of like the way they handle things. Then that's the person you want to go ahead and seek out. And I think the last thing, quite frankly, Jack, is you want to be very mindful. There's a lot of these big coaching companies out there, and they're usually led by somebody very dynamic, very charismatic, things like that. And so I'm going to go work with that coach. But the reality is, you're not going to work with that human being. You're going to work with one of their sub coaches or underlings, whatever, and that could be a whole different experience. And I think that's the differential now. When I started to coach 25 years ago in this industry, there was no such thing as a coach. I literally had to go and explain what I was going to do without much of a title. And now, the last 10 years, ever since 08, 09, quite frankly, there's a plethora of coaching opportunities. And so I think any advisor, what you need to do is do your due diligence, make sure it's something that makes sense to you and that you resonate with the person. And if they and the other thing, I guess, is if they got to really push hard on the hard sell to get you to sign up, why is that? I mean, you should be naturally attracted to, it should be, I want that, not I have to be sold that. I don't think you can sell coaching. I think it's a natural evolution of value creation, and either the person is going to opt into what you're doing, but they shouldn't have to be sold on how you're doing it.
Fantastic. Joe, thank you very much for these insights. I think our advisors are going to appreciate, knowing what they can do right now in the fourth quarter of 2018 to make a difference, not only in 2018, 2019. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Jack, thank you for having me.
Well, that was a powerful and timely conversation. We know Coach Joe offered many great tactics and strategies that you'll want to integrate into your business. To help you do that, our advisor development consultants are standing by to help you turn your ideas into action. Just give us a call at 800-752-0207 and ask how we can help you finish 2018 with a bang and set the table for a bigger 2019. Stay connected with future episodes by subscribing today, and keep posted on all our offerings by following InsurMark on LinkedIn.